Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry I've been kind of MIA when it comes to videos. I got super burnt out over the summer with all of the stuff I was posting about the Olympics. Also, yeah, Queso is in my lap. You might even be able to hear him purring a little bit. He's just chilling here. And Scout's sitting behind me. Oh, she left. Scout like loves this computer chair. She sleeps in it all the time. It's basically just her chair now. So yeah, sorry for not being as active. I'm going to start trying to post more, but I've been pretty burnt out and life has just been a lot right now. And just looking at the state of the horse world and like how little movement there is in the welfare sector and just the amount of things that get justified by people and that a lot of people don't even notice as being harmful to horses. Now that I've become more aware of that, it's honestly so hard to see. And like it's also really devastating to see the number of people who do truly love their horses that are just doing what they're told and what they believe in and are in denial. And it's just, yes, indeed, Queso agrees. It's just a really toxic dynamic to be in. And it can wear on your mental health a lot because also where I stand on social media, I find that it's like I have people who support what I say, which is great, but I'm kind of in the middle of two worlds where people who are vehemently anti-horse sports or riding of any sort hate me still, and people who are traditionalists in the horse world hate me still. And it makes me subject to a lot of critique and criticism, which has been difficult to deal with. And it's just been hard to find motivation to talk about things with how busy things have been. For people who haven't seen yet, this is like my new house. That's my setup of stuff behind some of the beautiful paintings and like drawings of George that I had that people gave to me after he passed away. Some inspirational posters that I like. Doornail, my horse skull, get it because he's dead as a doornail. And then some prints that I had, and then that's my certificate from Guelph University over there. And yeah, so I've been trying to set up stuff to make it so that it feels like home because that's something I hadn't done in the past. But anyways, with this topic, But anyways, with this video, I wanted to talk about some things that I've seen lately in the horse world, particularly this product that I recently became aware of after some people sent it to me. And it's just really disturbing. And I think it speaks for the state that the horse world is currently in. And it'll also be a good lead up to the rest of the topic that I wanted to talk about. So for those of you who haven't heard about this product, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it. But essentially, it's this horse mouth guard that the company created, and they claim to have created it for welfare purposes to prevent bit lesions and other oral damages from the bit, and essentially like guard the horse's mouth. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and share my screen here so that you can see. Um, Hold on. Okay, so here's some photos to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Basically, it is like a mouth guard that goes against and has guards against the teeth, and you slide it into the mouth, and then it's secured by the nose band. And on the actual page of this product, they state that the nose band needs to be tight because these need to be tightly against the bars of the mouth and the teeth in order to work. So not only do you have to improperly fit your nose bend to have it work, you're also putting more things in your horse's mouth. And these kind of remind me of like, you know, those pieces of like I forget what they're called, but it's when you're getting like an x-ray done in your mouth, an oral x-ray, and they put those blocks in your mouth that you have to bite down on. Anyone who's had that done knows how uncomfortable it is. It sucks. And that's what this reminds me of. And it's just really sad. So this is some of the advertising they use. Innovative mouth guard, enhancing balance, locomotion, and rideability for all horses. We developed to protect to prioritize your horse's well-being, a commitment we hold close to our hearts. The issue that I have the most for this, honestly, is how they keep repeating that this is for horse welfare and that it's for the benefit of horses and that they're looking out for horses and it's what they're passionate about. Because even if you could fit this comfortably in the mouth, which I vehemently disagree that you can, just because horses' mouths are already small enough, and there's a lot of debate whether or not a bit can even fit comfortably in a mouth. Um, Even if you could, the issue that I have with this the most is that it is a band-aid fix for a problem that is caused by either using harsh bits that are very abrasive and are causing oral injury because of that, or harsh hands on the rider's part where they're pulling too much, or both. and it's a band-aid fix. It's not actually addressing what is causing the oral lesions. So they claim that there's 4 years of meticulous research that led them to protect an innovative protection designed to minimize horse bit injuries. So it says minimize, it's not even fully prevent, it's just to minimize them. We developed this solution by actively listening to riders who explain to us how they find it difficult to really connect with their horse's mouths despite up-to-date dental care. I find this sentence pretty odd because I don't understand what, like, because if the issue is oral lesions, what they're essentially saying is that the riders cannot connect with their horse's mouths without causing these issues, even with up-to-date dental care. And it doesn't really make sense to me because you shouldn't be having this happen. And if you are, it's more of a reason to reconsider whether or not you should be using the bit that you are using or a bit at all, rather than putting a band-aid on to protect the horse's mouth. So anyways, this is what it looks like. And they're asking $750 for this, which is insane to me. I have been involved in production of products and I'm currently working on my own products that I'm trying to get patented and stuff. I can't give more information on that because it's not patented yet. But I've been working on that and I cannot fathom how they can justify this price per item for how much plastic and rubber it's actually using. Like I'm sure the forms that they would have had to purchase to make these things would have been initially expensive, but it's just an insane price point. And for $750, people could be doing veterinary exams to try to get to the bottom of why their horses are having issues under saddle that are resulting in the presence of oral lesions, or they could get riding lessons to learn how to use softer hands. They could go back to groundwork. There's no shortage of things that you could do for $750 that would be more in the best interest of the horse than this item is. And it's just really quite concerning. And so this is what it looks like. I'm going to go to their Instagram page in a second so that I can show you what the video of them putting it in the mouth looks like. Okay. So this is the Instagram page. I'm going to show you how they put it on. And it explains what it is. So this is how it goes into the mouth. It hooks under and goes against the teeth, and then there's rubber to guard the chin. And it says, make sure the Protect is tight against the teeth with the soft patches and not having a gap. The only way to make it tight against the teeth with how this is to tighten the noseband. And if you're over tightening the noseband so that there's only one finger or less, it not only is it associated with welfare deficits, it also actually increases the risk of bit lesions, because in the studies that they've done on tight nosebands, they've found that horses are more likely to have lesions from the bit when the noseband is too tight. So here they said smaller horses, one finger. It doesn't look like there's a 2-finger gap there. And my biggest issue is the amount of hardware in the horse's mouth, and also how this actually isn't addressing the real issue at hand here. The actual issue is people using aggressive equipment, restrictive equipment, and hard hands. Like you can see here that the horse has a flash noseband on, along with all the equipment in the, oh my gosh, maximum 1 finger between the bone and the noseband. Okay. It has it has a flash on, it has a curb bit, and all sorts of like noseband and restricted devices, along with what's going on in the mouth here with what they're putting in with the mouth guard. So it's a band-aid fix, and it's one of those things where I find it frustrating, because it's essentially serving the purpose of allowing riders who cause bit lesions to get away with doing so and to hide it. And the priority is helping out the riders and making the riders not have to change what they're doing and not have to learn how to ride differently, reflect on the equipment they use, or make any changes in consideration for the horse. It's just giving them a convenient way to hide the damage that they would otherwise cause. And what I find really concerning is the number of prevalent riders that are using it. Like Connor Swale is one of their sponsored riders, I presume, because he is using it in multiple of their videos. The other thing that I find interesting about the videos is that the horses are still showing like stress signals and lots of signs of oral discomfort. You can see them gaping at the mouth a lot. You can see lots of tail swishing. You can see opening of the mouth. You can see swishing of the head, like kicking out, etc. Like it's not appearing to reduce discomfort signals. And also look at the equipment a lot of these riders are using. This is a double rope noseband, which is very abrasive and aggressive. So this sits like right on the end of the nasal bone, and the rope is like it's rolled, so it has ridges and different pressure points, and it's a more aggressive and abrasive material, which means that it's more likely to cause rubbing, and it's also more aggressive when the horse tries to open the mouth. It's going to cause more discomfort. Um, this is what they look like when they're hung up. And again, this is just another example of it. This is an unboxing that a rider did. And also, like, a lot of the videos from riders using it appear to be sponsored videos. So that's the other thing too. These people have incentive to preach about how great this is because they're probably being paid for it. As someone who has done sponsorships, a lot of times when you're sent products like this, even if they're not doing a monetary payment, they'll be like, I'll send you it for free if you do like a post on it. But a lot of times they do pay money on top of that. This is a video that they use to show how great it is and how well it works. One thing I noticed is that this is on 2 different days because the rider's outfit changed. So it's not like it's an actual direct comparison of before and after. However, what they're viewing as a huge improvement is a horse who is very overbent and is behind the vertical the entire time. So while there's less irritation from the bit and less like head shaking, honestly, what this looks to me is like a young horse who got a few more miles in between both clips. But there's still stress signals. There's still a horse looking uncomfortable, and there's still a horse who's hiding behind the vertical because of the bit pressure. This is another image that I thought was interesting because the horse is showing signs of stress here. You can see a really tense, peaked eye, an open mouth, flared nostrils, and just all in all, lots of tension around the face. They had another photo that they actually deleted because I commented on the amount of tension in it. This is another example where the horse is still showing oral discomfort and would probably have a mouth that's open even wider than that if it weren't for the flash. So it's interesting because it doesn't appear that these things are doing what they're claiming. It might mask the actual lesions, but what it's not doing is creating comfort for the horse like what they're claiming. And horses can still experience pain without there being any visible scarring or like discomfort or rubs or whatever. You don't have to see visible damage on the face. This horse also looks very unhappy in the mouth and in the face. But anyways, I find that the way that they're marketing this product, I find that it's very predatory and concerning because people who want to do the best for their horse, who might be around groups of people that think that these types of things are normal, they might be willing to try something like this, thinking it's the solution for them, but it's a band-aid fix. It's not addressing why horses are having bit lesions in the first place. And honestly, I think it makes horse people as a whole, all of us, we all look stupid because like we are ignoring the elephant in the room. People are creating sores in the mouth from bits. The other ironic thing about this is a lot of the people who are using this product and endorsing it and defending it are the same types of people who would be like, oh, the bit is only as harsh as the rider's hands. But if you go to use that product, you are admitting that you know your hands have the potential to cause damage in a bit. So as far as I'm concerned, the existence of this product and the fact that it's being purchased and used by people in the first place is an admission of guilt. People are admitting that bits are causing oral damage and they're seeking ways to hide it. And that bodes really poorly for the horse world as a whole. And it just reflects poorly on all of us. It's embarrassing. Like, we shouldn't be settling for this as a standard because it just further shows the general public that the priority here is people being able to compete and do what they want with their horses at any cost. And it's $750, which is crazy. So I found that really interesting, and I just don't like the way they're marketing it to be about pro welfare when at its core, it's an invasive piece of equipment that is created to hide the damage that riders would otherwise cause if it were not there. The other thing that I don't really understand is that there are a lot of bits that now have dental grade like silicone and like rubber materials to soften them and to make it less abrasive against the bars of the mouth than metal would be. And that would be an alternative to have the same type of padding that this product is claiming to provide, but without having to spend $750 and put a whole ton of shit in your horse's mouth. But this product kind of leads into what I was going to talk about now. And I wanted to bring up this product first because I honestly thought it was satire at first. I thought it was a joke. I thought that there was no way that this could be real. So it took me a second because I was like, this has to be a joke. I thought that there's no way that people would actually pay $750 for something like that. And then when I looked on their account and saw that there's some prevalent riders using it and marketing it, and that it's fairly new, so I'm sure that it's going to grow in popularity and the amount of use. It is just crazy to me. And it's really sad because we've made some forward steps in the welfare sector to help improve horse welfare, but then there's things like this and the fact that they're widely accepted and that they can exist in the first place without people being appalled by it, and like that they can be a lucrative business for someone, really speaks for where our priorities are at in the horse world. So what I wanted to talk about is contact, the concept of contact, and the flawed perspective of contact that a lot of people have. And in my opinion, I think the way a lot of riders, most of us, are taught to use contact and to view contact with the horse is inherently flawed. Even if you're traditionally training pressure and release, the entire idea of pressure and release is to release the pressure when the horse has done the correct thing. And if you're riding with constant contact on the mouth, it means that the horse has constant pressure on the mouth and there is no release. It just means that there's a relative amount of pressure, and then harder pressure when you're trying to cue them to do something, and then a slight release, but that the pressure maintains. And especially in dressage, there's this idea that you need to have the horse on the bit and have contact in order for there to be correctness and for there to be this full picture of like a correct frame. And I'm not convinced of this. Like there aren't really studies out there that are showing contact with the mouth is necessary in order for a horse to carry itself correctly, because first of all, most horses carry themselves more correctly on their own time without a rider on their back, no bit in their mouth. And secondly, in some of the dissections where people have tested the impact of the bit and when they've applied bit pressure, they've found that it actually decreases the amount of movement in the hind end and kind of locks up the body in a way. I think Bex Nairn on Facebook is one that brought that up. Renata Larson, who is an ethologist, also posted something on Instagram today that I want to share with you all because I think it's very it's just an excellent way of looking at contact. And honestly, it's what inspired me to want to talk about this in the first place. So she put, this is all quoting her. You know my position on contact. The whole premise is fundamentally flawed. Even contact is a biological impossibility. We know this from studies that have measured rein tension. It fluctuates constantly and massively between right and left hand, between gaits, between movements, etc. Even experienced riders can't achieve an even contact. Constant contact also violates the premise of negative reinforcement. For example, the application of targeted pressure followed by immediate release of pressure once the horse responds. If the point of rein signals is to cue the horse to do something, to slow down, to lift their head, to bend, to turn, so on, then these signals need to be applied deliberately and judiciously so that the horse can differentiate between them in a reliable way. Constant fluctuations in contact make this impossible, or at least unnecessarily difficult for the horse. Also, there are ethical questions around applying constant pressure. From studies, we know that this pressure easily reaches the equivalent of 4 to 7 kilograms to a sensitive area like the mouth for the duration of while training session or competition. And for my American people who don't know how much 4 to 7 kilograms is, I'm going to tell you, because I think 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. So 4 kilograms is 8.8 pounds. 7 kilograms is 15.4 pounds. So imagine having that on the bars of your mouth for the duration of a ride. And on top of that, potentially having your mouth strapped shut over the device that people are pulling on. The other thing in the rein tension studies that people found is that riders vastly underestimated how much pressure they were applying. They're not very good or accurate at knowing how much pressure they're applying and knowing how aggressive they are being with their hands. So they can think they're being an awful lot softer than they are. But all of that aside, like for the horses, can we, like, ethically, does it really make sense to be constantly applying pressure to the bars of their mouth? And how can this possibly be done without causing damage of some sort? And definitely, like, how can it be done without causing discomfort? Because like 8 to 15 pounds of pressure on sensitive mouth where there's like sharp bone, and that doesn't have that much skin protecting it, and you're applying pressure that they cannot escape from, because usually people are opting for nose bands that also damage their ability to escape the amount of pressure being applied. how can this be done ethically? And like, why have we created this idea that we need to be constantly hanging off of our horses' faces in order to be having a good ride? Because you can teach a horse how to go in a correct frame and how to carry themselves better without having their like your hands on their mouth the whole time. And honestly, I find that it actually creates a lot of anxiety for horses to not really have the freedom to move around. Like just even the entire concept that they have to remain in a static position for the entirety of the ride, that they can't like look around at all and that they can't stretch and that we don't give them enough opportunities to actually behave like a real athlete. Like a human athlete in training wouldn't go and continue to go to a personal trainer that puts them in restrictive equipment, forces them into positions, ignores them when they try to show signs that they're uncomfortable, and continues to push them on and on and on. And yet, this is the reality of what we are doing to horses. We start them too quickly, and this isn't even about age-related stuff, but like you have to build them up to be able to carry that amount of weight. Like you can't just get on them and go riding walk, trot, canter. Like even the whole premise of a 30-day start is inherently flawed because a horse cannot build the fitness that they actually need to carry a rider properly in 30 days. And we start riding them for lengthy periods of time and asking them to do a lot of things all at once. And if you looked at it from the perspective of if you were trying to condition yourself to be able to do these things, the time frame in order to get fit enough where you can pack 10 to 20% of your body weight and do so for a while doing highly strenuous activity, it would take you a while to get to that level of fitness, especially if you're coming from no comparable level of fitness to that. And that's what we're doing to horses. So I encourage people to, one, start to heavily question the equipment on the market and the gadgets that people put out there, especially when they're claiming that it promotes good welfare, when it's something like this, where it's literally just to hide wounds that would otherwise be caused. I don't see how that's ever in the benefit of the horse. What would be in the benefit of the horse is to address why those wounds are existing in the first place. And in some cases, that might be removing the bit entirely. And honestly, if oral lesions are enough of a problem that products like this even need to exist in the first place, and that people think to come up with them, and that we have upper level riders who should be the best example of good riding that are using them, like that is a problem, and it speaks for the state that the horse world is at. And these decisions that people are making, no matter how much they love their horses, there's no way around the fact that it's selfish. You can love something and you could still be acting selfishly. And that's what we're seeing a lot here in the horse world. So, sorry, I had to pause that and dip out to go meet the maintenance guy. So I lost my train of thought. But basically, I want to just finish this video by saying that we need to do better by our horses, and loving them is not enough because oftentimes people love their horses through the lens of what the horse can do for them, and they're not considerate enough of the horse's experience. And I just want everyone to consider like how stressful it would be to have stuff put into your mouth and have people pulling on it and to not even be able to open your mouth to escape that. Like even just that, even in the best of cases, having something in your mouth, even with light contact and good hands on the rider's part, but having your mouth strapped shut so you can't move it around and you can't move your jaw properly, it'd be pretty distressing. So we need to consider the experience of the horse more and really start to be serious about what we're willing to justify in the name of training horses and competing them, because these types of things at face value to like everyone else outside of the horse world look so crazy. And I find that people outside of the horse world are more able to look at what's going on within the horse world and make comments about it and be like, is that okay? Like, does that hurt the horse? And they're more able to notice these things because they haven't been conditioned to not see them in the same way that a lot of horse people have. And like a lot of us have been conditioned to think that contact is the be all and end all and that it's necessary in order to do proper riding. And we need to start looking at things differently because those are also just a lot of like opinions that have been perpetuated by people of the past and don't necessarily have evidence to back them. So I think that it's important that we start questioning things more and also like setting standards and boundaries for like how we're going to show up for our horses and lines that we're not willing to cross, because some stuff is just really not okay and we can't keep doing these things to horses. And I also fear that like the industry social license is so at risk. Like I think we're at a point now where even if big changes start to be implemented, that they're not going to really trust that horse people actually have the horse's best interests at heart, because we've proven them so many times that that's not the case with like current goings on in the horse world. Like as it stands now, there's a lot of bits that need to be pulled off the market entirely because they're not ethical. A lot of nose bands that do as well. And we really need to start reevaluating what we're willing to do in the name of riding, because there's more alternatives to addressing horses who are difficult to control than just putting more and more restrictive equipment on them. There's ways around those problems that don't involve forcing them through pain compliance. And yes, it requires more work on the part of the rider to learn how to do those alternatives and to learn how to do better, but it's a worthy endeavor and you become more able to problem solve issues in the future. So we should be willing to do that, especially for the love of the horse and for the benefit of the horse. These are things that we just need to do. So anyways, thank you for listening. Sorry that this is like kind of an informal, weird, wonky video, but I just wanted to get something up and share my thoughts while they're fresh. Let me know what you think down below about the product that I mentioned and also what I've said about contact. And also I'll link Renata Larson's info down below in the description so you can check out her content, because she posts a lot of really great informative stuff and I highly recommend following her because you'll learn a lot. And I've learned a ton and she's a very great equine advocate. I can't talk. So please check all that out. Check out my links down below if you want to see like the webinars that I have, or if you want to help support me by subscribing to Instagram subscriptions or to Patreon, or by purchasing anything from my store. I'm having some pretty big sales on horse bridles and whatnot, none of which come with flashes because no. And you can check all that out at the links down below. And I appreciate any and all support because it allows me to continue doing what I'm doing and makes it possible. And so here's to caring for the horses and to reforming the horse world and having more horse first approaches normalized, and not helping companies profit off of really restrictive, aversive equipment that seeks to hide issues that would otherwise be present. Because also, like, if riders at the upper levels are causing bit lesions often, like there's such a big problem. Like we really need to seriously look at why we're justifying the variety of bits that we allow on the market, if that's a thing, because I personally don't think any type of abrasive mouthpiece should exist at all. Like I think that all of the materials on bits should be smooth and like dental grade and very unlikely to cause rubbing just by the material itself. And then like anatomical to the horse's mouth and without any added curb pressure or anything like that. Like I think that it just needs to be all snapples with really smooth, anatomically correct mouthpieces that are like rubber or like some type of silicone or something. That's the way I think it needs to be, because it's just it's getting ridiculous and I just feel so bad for the horses. So, and I also think we need to legalize bitless across disciplines because there's no reason not to. And if they're willing to allow like the ridiculous things that they allow in certain disciplines, it's like, come on, just legalize bitless. Most people aren't even going to ride bitless, but the people who want to can then. Anyways, thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out my links down below. I also have been updating my podcast more regularly. I've been trying to do weekly uploads on Thursdays. So if you're interested in listening to it, it's called Making Milestones and it's on all of your major podcast providers. And I have some good discussions on there. And then I'm also going to be starting to interview people and do discussions with other equestrian people in the community about a variety of different topics. So please stay tuned because I'm trying to get my shit together to do that more regularly, which is not something I've done since the podcast was even started. It's been all very casual, but I'm trying. So thank you so much for everyone for supporting me.